going to mess with Kate and start it back today. No particular reason, just because. We are in week number 2 of a series called Selfless, and this week is Faithful in Service. So what I want to ask each of you is, if somebody describe your actions with the word always, what would they say? Like as in, he always this, she always that. What exactly would they say? So the question, what would others say that you are always doing? I don't know if you can come up with that answer real quick or easy or not, but but if someone say, well, you're always encouraging. Always caring, yeah, that would be a good one. You're always griping. You're always finding faults. You're always finding good. What would your kids say? Well, mommy is always working. Daddy is always playing video games.
Or preaching.
Oh, there could be that too, yeah. They're always business. Yeah, they're always busy on my business. How about they're always sharing their faith? Maybe that would be one. They're always on social media. Always on Instagram. Always on the Twitter. Always on the Facebook. MySpace. That's dead, right? Okay. I don't think that even exists anymore. The thing is, here's what it's all about. Is we live in a self-serving, very self-serving, self-gratifying, and a self-promoting culture. That's what we're great at. We're great at self-promoting. And if you get onto Google and you look up basically self-promoting, you'll come up with articles called The Art of Self-Promoting, 6 ways to get your work discovered. So you got to have that. Forbes came out with an article called Self-Promotion is a Skill. And also there's one out there, 40 ways to self-promote without being a jerk. So apparently from what the world and society tells us, self-promotion is a skill, and apparently we need to get a lot better at it, as if we believe what the world tells us. We kind of spoke about this in another series we did, I think at the very beginning of the year. I can't even remember exactly which one it was, but a poll was done on high school teenagers, and more than half of the teens said that when they grew up, they wanted to be famous. They want to be, YouTube stars, because now anybody can be a star on YouTube. You don't even have to have any special talent or anything like that. And for a career, 54% of them said that they wanted to be a celebrity. Which, I think when I watch the news, and I see the young generation and how a lot of them are acting, you can see where they have this very I'm important, I want to be the celebrity attitude, and we kind of see that spilling over in all portions of life. Because again, we go back to the social media stuff, and everybody has become mini celebrities in their own little world, right? Because you have 500 friends and 400 followers, or 300 likes on a picture you put up, or whatever the numbers happen to be. So in our little world, we might say, well, what do you want to be? We might say, well, I want to be the GOAT. I don't know how many of you know what the GOAT is, okay? This is something one of the latest people we hear called the GOAT is Tom Brady. You might hear Michael Jordan called the GOAT, and it simply means the greatest of all time. So how many of us would like to be the greatest of all time? I don't know. The funny thing is, we're all into the self-promotion and everything, and really, Jesus was not into self-promotion. As a matter of fact, he says, you know what, instead of being selfish, I need you to be selfless. And I need you to deny yourself. And We like to be selfish. We don't want to deny ourselves. We want more and more and more. Give me more. Make it more about me. I want better things, right? But Jesus says this. He says, the greatest among you will be your servant. Matthew 23:11. Greatest among you will be your servant. So if you want to be the greatest, you have to be a servant. Not really what society teaches us nowadays, is it? Right? He invites us to be selfless instead of being selfish. He invites us to be a servant. And we are servants, or as Christians or as followers of Christ, we're supposed to be servants to the Most High God. So, the question is what are you always doing? And like I said, I can't necessarily answer that for you. It's something you kind of have to answer for yourself. Well, I want to tell you a little quick thing out of Acts 9 here. Okay? In Joppa, there was a disciple named Tabitha. And yes, if anybody's wondering, that is the spelling we use for our daughter's name, Tabitha. We took it right out of the biblical text. This is why we took it out. We thought this was a good role model here. But in Greek, her name is Dorcas. I'm not going to name her Dorcas. We figured that would never end. And I remember in the church I grew up in, there was this room, and it was called the Dorcas room, and I had no idea what that meant. I thought, well, maybe that's where they send I think it was an adult room. They sent the adults there just to maybe a little odd or something like that. For the longest time, I didn't know what the Dorcas room was. But in Joppa, there was a disciple named Tabitha. She was always doing good and helping the poor. Now, this word Tabitha, too, this name Tabitha, also comes up as meaning gazelle. So there is belief that she may have possibly been a beautiful woman. So it's kind of just an interesting thing. She was always doing good, is what we're told. Always doing good. Okay. She was known for being one that was sewing the clothes for the poor. She was caring for widows. So when she died, there was like this big gap, if you think about it. People were sad. But Peter came, and he raised her from the dead, and it basically started a revival. And from that moment, it sparked many people to come to Christ. So instead of always being self-serving, we're supposed to be always serving others. So another question we have is, how do we become a faithful servant? How do we become a faithful servant? And you might be one of these people, because this is me in a job interview. They always ask me for your strengths, and I'm always like, I never know what to say. But you might be one of these people that says, you know what, I'm not really all that great at a lot. I don't really have a lot that I can offer. I'm not that important. Who am I? You know, we go down that road a lot where we don't see our strengths. It's hard for us to see our strengths. We are great at finding our weaknesses, though. We can find that like that. Someone asks you what your weaknesses are, you'd be like, well, let me start here and I'll work up for you. Okay? But we're capable of doing so much more than we think we are. So I want to tell you 3 quick stories on how you can become a faithful servant. Okay? And I'm going to tell you what the 3 little headers are, and then I'll tell you the stories. Okay? All right. So the first thing you can do is you can bring a lunch. That makes sense to nobody, right? The second thing you can do is offer a ride. That doesn't make sense to anybody. Third thing you can do is carry a towel. Okay? So bring a lunch, offer a ride, carry a towel. All right? So let's talk about bringing a lunch, okay? Let's talk about King David, all right? So we think King David, here he is, war hero, that's what we think of, you know, brave king, called a man after God's own heart. We know he rose to notoriety because he went out there against the giant Goliath and he killed the giant, right? We know that. And the people, they loved him for it. They honored him. And the women, they sang songs to him. You know, David's the king. He's slaying all these people. And I keep thinking that someday I'm going to come home and my wife's going to be in the driveway and she's going to sing songs to me about me, preaching the word of God. Probably not going to happen, but it would be nice. All right. So most think David was great because he won the battles, right? That's what we think. David, you're great because you won the battles. David was great because he carried a basket, all right? He brought a lunch, okay? David was one out of 8 brothers to Jesse, okay? And the oldest sons of Jesse, they were out fighting, fighting the Philistines. And this is what the Bible tells us, okay? And this is 1 Samuel 17. One day, Jesse said to David, "Take this basket of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread and carry them quickly to your brothers. And give these 10 cuts of cheese to their captain. See how your brothers are getting along and bring back a report on how they are doing." Okay? So, David, we think, David, great war hero. And here, his brothers are all fighting in a war and everything. And what's Dad say? Take this basket and take it to your brothers, right? David, you want to win the battle? Yeah, I want to win the battle, right? Well, okay, first, before you can win the battle, you have to bring a lunch to your brothers. Bring a lunch. Something that's so significant. It seems like insignificant. Bring a lunch. Yeah, it's so important. You want to be great? Oh, yeah, I want to be great. Okay, well, first you have to be insignificant. You want to be in the spotlight? Well, yeah. Okay, then first you have to focus on others. You have to be selfless. And we see that. We see that with Christians, and we know that we're told that if we can start, and God gives us these simple things to handle, and we can handle those well, then He'll give us more important things and more important things. So sometimes, if we want to be a servant, we have to start by simply bringing a lunch. Second thing is offer a ride. Okay? About 553 years before the event occurred, the prophet Zechariah declared a king would ride into Jerusalem humbly on a donkey. All right, so this would have been shocking. The king on the donkey. We don't always think about this. I mean, I think we've kind of got this ingrained in our head that, he rode in on a donkey. Jesus rode in on a donkey. We know that, right? But we don't put a lot of thought into it, right? This would have been shocking, okay? Because a king was supposed to ride in on the white horse with the crown and the jewels in the crown and rings on their fingers and the long robe and the servants and all that stuff, right? Modern day, if you wanted to think about a modern day, how would someone important ride in? Well, they'd come in the stretched limo with a posse with them. They'd all get out of the car and all, and people would be taking pictures and everything. Modern day version of Jesus, riding in on a moped. Shocking. You wouldn't expect that, right? Well, what happens? Jesus tells these guys, hey, go find a donkey. All right, go find the donkeys. He even tells them, yep, someone's going to ask you about what you're doing and everything. This is kind of what happens right here. He says, someone may ask you, why are you untying it? Meaning the donkey. If so, say, the Lord needs it. Okay? So he sends them, and they started tying this donkey. And all of a sudden, the master of this donkey comes out and says, hey, what are you doing? Right? Like we would all. If you had your bicycle out in the front yard and so, all of a sudden someone just comes in, starts walking around with your bicycle. Hey, where are you going with my bike? Right? This, we don't know really much about this other than what we're told here. We don't really know much history. We don't know if maybe this was this guy's business. Not sure. We don't know the guy's name of the donkey they were taking. We don't know what he did for a living. We don't know how many donkeys he owned. Could have been one, could have been any number of donkeys. But here's what he did. He simply said yes when it came time to offer the ride. Here's what he didn't do. He didn't say, whoa, 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 what are you doing with that donkey, right? He didn't do that. You know, that donkey's never been ridden before. That donkey costs extra. That's a high-end donkey right there. That's not your typical Eeyore donkey. That's a luxury donkey. That's the Cadillac of donkeys. That donkey has no miles on it, right? I put high-end hooves on that donkey. It's got the best shoes on it. You know, none of that. He didn't do any of that. All he did was when they said, the Lord needs it, is he offered the ride of the donkey. And that gift that he gave, it made its way to Jesus. And that is the donkey that Jesus used. So bring a lunch, offer a ride. And the third thing that you and I can do is we can carry a towel. Okay? Just before the Passover, Jesus and the disciples on a Thursday night were having a secret meeting in the upper room. Okay? And Jesus, knowing during this meeting that he was about to give his life, knowing that was about to happen, and all of a sudden, everything is probably on his mind, all the pressures he's going through, all of a sudden this argument comes up. This argument breaks out. And it is, who is going to be the greatest? Who is going to be the GOAT? The greatest of all time between the disciples. And they're arguing. And you can probably imagine what this argument sounds a little bit like. John's annoying, okay? I mean, John wrote his whole gospel in the second person, and he referred to himself as being the one Jesus loved, and he uses that over and over and over again, and you can probably imagine that he just probably drove the rest of the disciples crazy, and he's like, hey, I'm the one that Jesus loves, so naturally, I'm the greatest of all time, right? Which Peter's probably like, John, you're not the greatest of all time. I'm his favorite, because remember when we were out on the boat and the waves and, you know, the rain and the wind and all that kind of stuff. And remember we saw Jesus and you all cowered in the corner and I got out of the water and I walked on the water. And they were probably like, yeah, but Peter, you only made it 3 feet and then you sunk. And then Bartholomew probably puts his 2 cents in. He's like, you know what, maybe I'm the greatest of all time. And they're like, Bartholomew, nobody even knows who you are. Can you imagine this argument breaking out? Who's the greatest of all time? Who's the greatest, right? Who's the GOAT? Jesus knows he didn't come to be served. And when he looks around the room at his apostles, what does he see? Proud hearts and dirty feet. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. This was a common courtesy in the day. Okay? You come to each other's homes, chances are when you get there that somebody's going to say to you, a master of the house will say, well, can I take your coat? Can I offer you a drink? And those days, they would have said that plus, would you like your feet washed? Because they were walking around in sandals all the time. It was very dirty and dusty, and their feet would be nasty and all that, right? Okay, but here's the thing. The master of the house, he never washed the feet. That was reserved for the lowest of the servants to wash the feet. So this was a low and humiliating task to have to do. Basically to give them a nice little pedicure, right? And I don't know about you guys. Some of us don't have very nice looking feet. My wife runs for my feet. I've accepted it after all these years, but it's all right. So they're having this dinner, and Jesus sees selfish hearts, dirty feet, and he stops what he's doing. He gets up, and he grabs a towel, and he starts washing feet. Who is Jesus? Jesus, the Son of God, the bread of life, the Prince of Peace, the living water, the light of the world, the great high priest, the Lamb of God, the living stone, the righteous judge, the vine, the King of glory, the chosen one, the King of kings, the Alpha, the Omega, the Lord of lords, our Redeemer, our rock, our sanctification, our righteousness, kneels and washes feet, because he didn't come to be served, but he came to serve. So what can we do? Bring lunch. Offer a ride. Carry a towel, because when you serve others, you are serving Christ. The greatest among you is not a great self-promoter. The greatest among you is a servant. And at one point in time, Jesus tells him, he talks about taking the sheep and putting them on one side, his sheep, his flock. And he talks about taking the goats, the greatest of all time, putting them on the other. And he said to the goats, we didn't even know each other, did we? And then he goes to the sheep and he thanks them. And he thanks them because you clothed me, because you fed me, because you visited me, because you invited me into your homes. And they look around and they're not really sure what he's talking about. They're like, Jesus, when did we do any of that stuff for you? He says, when you did that to the least of these, talking about other people, other followers, other people that weren't even followers. When you did that for these people, you were doing it to me. It needs to become less about us and more about him. I think it's very interesting. The thing as followers of Christ, what we all want to hear from Jesus someday, when we pass on, when we go up there, what is it we all want to hear? Well done, my good and faithful, not go, not well done, my good and faithful, greatest of all time. Well done, my good and faithful servant. So you might think, I can't do much. Who am I when it comes to the kingdom of God? I'm only good at the little things, not the big things, but the little things are what matter so much. And I mean, when I just kind of look and I just think, even the people who aren't necessarily here today, and I think of Gorels as they're traveling today, what they've done. what just we have done together, combined as a church. I mean, just look at yesterday's event, all the work that went into that by different people here, whether it be tearing down the church last week when people stayed and we cleared this out and we made this room pretty empty, or it be yesterday when we filled this room back up again, whether it be all the work that Peg did with talking on the phones, or whether it be those of you who made stuff and built stuff and brought stuff and were here to help, and so many different things that was done for one event, and the things that we always have going on here, whether it be the parade that we're in, whether it be the bake sales we do, or the multiple things, and I'm hoping in the near future, a Kringle. We'll explain later. So many things that so many of you do where you don't think it's a big deal, but it's a very big deal. It's those little things that let us be servants to Him. So what are you always doing? What are you always doing great? What can you do? Because you have talents and probably areas you don't even think you have. You might be the one that can hold a baby for somebody who needs it, who needs that rest. We have, once in a while, we have someone come in with a baby. Man, they just need a rest. You might be the one that can greet guests. You might be someone who can open your home. You might be somebody who can do something simply as carry a bag to somebody's car. You might be the one that can welcome a stranger. You might be the one who says, you know what, I'm really good at working with teens and kids. That's a passion. You might be the one that can read to a child. You might be the one that can cook a dinner. You might be the one that can give a coat to somebody who doesn't have one. You might be the one that can bring a lunch, that can offer a ride, that can carry a towel. Well done, my good and faithful servant. The greatest among you is not the goat. The greatest among you will be your servant. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for giving us such a successful weekend here at the church. I thank you for filling up this building yesterday. It's just a joy to even see the church being used for even non-church functions, but to see people, even if it's just for one day, to be in your house. God, it is such a joy today to have people here that are here to worship, that are not afraid to worship. We are free to worship. God, we just pray that you use us. That you use us to be your servants. That if there is a small task that needs to be done, that you speak to us. Not only that you speak to us, but that we're wise enough to answer that call. God, we know that we may not be able to move mountains all at one time, but we know we can start with just one small act of random kindness. One small